Hello and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host Brian West, here to give you your top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it throughout the week. Now, these top 8 stories are only documented for records and to highlight topics for those in the business of talk radio and talk media and those who just want to stay informed. Now, let's get to the top 8 stories that made it into The Mediator this week. Story number 1, everybody. What are the issues in the way to help fund the government? Now, a government's purpose is to serve its taxpayers and make sure the citizens are safe within its own country so they can pay the bills. Now, at least, I guess in the representative democracy, that's the case. The representative democracy known as the United States. Well, if you did not hear it, you may hear it here, that there are a few spending bills that are keeping officials awake at night within the United States government. And the list, there's 3 on the list. And bill number 1, health care. Big issue. The Affordable Care Act was supposed to make health care affordable for everyone, but I guess the government is trying to keep costs from Obamacare from spiking. Like I said, it was supposed to make healthcare affordable. Now there's $30 billion in the cost. I guess that's the number that's floating around Congress to help stabilize Obamacare, also known as the Affordable Care Act. Now the votes may come from Republicans not wanting to see restrictions on abortions in regards to that bill. So there's a lot going on about healthcare that has a lot to do with finding a way to fund the government. Issue and bill number 2, immigration. DACA is set to expire, and Trump still needs the money for the spending bill to pay for the wall. So Trump wants a wall, but there has to be money put forth to pay for it. And that's a lot of money, just like that's a lot of money to fund health care. So these are some bills. There's some issues that may stop the government from being funded. That may mean another government shutdown. Now, the fight is also centered around a pathway to citizenship, and DACA shut down the government last go-round, but I guess we're getting ready for round 2. People want a pathway to citizenship for some illegal immigrants or some immigrants who have been in America for a while, and this is another fight that may stop the government from being funded or may shut the government down the next go round. Now, issue number 3, bill number 3, the new nagging school safety and gun bills. After a mass shooting spree in Florida, the push for stricter gun laws now have U.S. lawmakers on the ropes. But stay tuned. These are the 3 bills that may put a hold down on a spending budget to keep the government open. The key to this developing story is to keep the government open, we have to pay the bills. Now, those are the 3 key bills and 3 key issues that are trying to find a way to be paid for so we can keep the government open and pay the bills and come up with a budget. That's how it works here in the representative democracy known as United States of America. Story number 2 is another hate group trying to send a message. Now, if you haven't heard about it, someone placed 3 bombs outside of some homes in Austin, Texas. Bomb number 1 killed a 39-year-old African American who picked up the package outside of his home. Bomb number 2 killed a 17-year-old who was also African American, while the bomb also wounded his mother when he opened it in the kitchen. And bomb number 3 injured a 75-year-old Hispanic woman. Now, it appears that all of the bombs were hand-delivered and really shines light on the fact that the United States still has some unhealed wounds when it comes to concealed hate in the United States of America. And there were also recent reports of 2 more men that have been reported being injured in a recent bombing campaign across Austin, Texas. So there's 2 more injuries in the bombing campaign in Austin, Texas. Let's just hope that the person or people involved turns themselves in, which is probably highly unlikely. Let's hope they try to turn themselves in and bring to the table on why they're doing this or what's motivating them to place bombs outside of fellow citizens' houses in the year 2018. So as you can see, the United States still has a problem with some unhealed wounds, but it makes no sense to blow things up instead of engaging in dialogue. That's what we have a justice system and a civil system for. This follows a story that hit headlines about the beating of a black man at a Charlottesville white nationalist rally. This is 2018, and we are still faced with a problem in America when it comes to issues like this. Hopefully, we can get it together. This country can do better. Story number 3. Why is there always violence at nightclubs? Now, after a headline surfaced about another attack at a British nightclub, the attention went from the dance floor to a car driving through a club in Gravesend, Kent. It's clear that most police reports come in the heat of nightlife, which still is a booming business. Nightclubs. Now, although this idle story may stay at the bottom of the news pile, it may be the reason why some people choose to stay home instead of a night out on the town the next time around. Story number 4. Is the government too soft on online sex trafficking? Now, there is one fact that little girls and little boys keep disappearing, never to be found on a global scale. So that means people are disappearing, little children. Now, on Christmas Eve of 2016 in a Chicago suburb, a 16-year-old was brutally raped and murdered. This is a fact. It's also a fact that the internet has made it easier for anyone to fall into the sex web, but the key word is anyone can fall into the sex web. And when people get the urge, they can easily fall prey to online sex trafficking. And everybody knows what the urge is. Now, this includes prostitution of all ages. Although a Senate bill to crack down on the growing problem of online sex cases and human trafficking is the case, some say this is not enough. And with growing pressure on the internet, including the porn industry, every person, woman and man, including me, can become a victim. And just like any bad habit, you will know when you need help. Now, if this developing story gains more attention, we may notice more people talking about the sexual beast that we all battle with. When left unchecked, that beast can get a lot of people in trouble and cause a lot of damage. Human sex trafficking is a global problem that is rarely discussed. There have also been unusual spikes in HIV rates in places like Milwaukee and Beaver County, Pennsylvania, that have been popping up in the media. Story number 5. What should you be allowed to say about abortions? The Supreme Court has seen its fair share of oddball cases in recent past, but a new case about the promotion of state-funded abortion services is next up to bat. And the fight is being born out of a California law that requires postings about state-funded abortion services in pregnancy centers that oppose abortion. So that means people who are against abortion are being forced to promote it. The fight is center stage because, like I said, groups who oppose abortion are making the case that they are being forced to promote it. They're being forced to promote a medical procedure known as abortion. I'd like to make this clear, that they opposed and they do not agree with. In a free country that promotes democracy. Now, this developing story is gaining some steam on a woman's issue that continues to hit home because of the breakdown of the family, and that seems to be a real problem all across the United States in each ethnic group, especially in the inner city. Story number 6 is the election of Russian President Vladimir Putin for another 6 years a problem. Now, after former CIA contractor Edward Snowden posted some security camera footage that appeared to be ballot stuffing, means that people were stuffing the ballot box with the vote, and I'm probably assuming it was Putin's name on the ticket. Now, some wonder if Russia may be another example. After that incident, some wonder if Russia may be another example of a country that is out of touch with democracy. Now, Putin won the election by 75%. That may be the reason why there's some questions about them being out of touch. Now, this is a big issue due to the attention that Putin and Russia have received about old Cold War tactics to gain an edge in the global arena. Now, the list from election meddling, infiltration in Ukraine, and a huge role in the Syrian war, I guess all of these incidents have put President Putin at the center of attention on a global scale. Now, as stories continue to surface about Russian spies in the UK and even ties with U.S. officials, this developing story may play a key role in the next election process and even bring attention to the relationship between rival leaders and U.S. officials. Story number 7 and the final 2 stories that made it into the Mediator this week. The war on opioids heats up. President Trump has thrown more grenades on the opioid and drug epidemic, but some say the drug problem is just too big to handle, and that little grenade may not be enough. Now, Trump has proposed funding of $6 million and a plan to increase the punishment of drug offenders to the maximum. He wants them to get the death penalty like they do in Singapore. Now, it's safe to say that the damage has been done when it comes to the drug problem that has spread all across the United States and across the world. But what makes this developing story so unique is the fact that we have a sitting president that has sounded the bullhorn in the war on drugs that has ruined the lives of so many families, and the list continues to grow bigger and bigger every day. Now, one grenade to draw attention on a huge problem may give some people the courage to join the war on drugs. So what Trump is doing, even with all of his woes and baggage in the White House, may be stirring the pot and bringing attention to a matter that has affected a lot of people, and a lot of Americans. Story number 8, and the final story that made it into the Mediator this week. What happened in Florida that caused a brand new bridge to collapse? Yes. Investigators in Florida are still trying to figure out how a newly built 950-ton walkway bridge collapsed. The bridge collapsed while cars were passing under, and what makes this story unique is the fact that the bridge had just been built, and also the reality that traffic was allowed to proceed under the newly built bridge while the wire tightening was ongoing. Now, this tragedy not only caused injuries, but it also caused casualties, deaths. Now, there are question marks all over this developing story that will remain in the news because of the ongoing investigation into how such a tragic event could unfold at a time when the United States is at the peak of construction procedures and on-site safety protocol. What I'm saying is we have been building bridges for a long time, so this is unusual in 2018. This would have probably been the case about 1,000 years ago, but in 2018, this is pretty unusual. Now, it's also ironic for this incident to occur while the United States is in the process of preparing to release new infrastructure plans across the country. Now, either there's just a decay in people understanding how to build bridges, or there's just a problem that occurred during safety protocol, or we may just be losing touch on something that we've been able to do so fluently over the years. Now, those are the top 8 stories that made it into the media this week. I want to thank you so much for tuning in, and please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to show us some support by spending some money, go to our website, buy something, click on something, sponsor program, watch something or just read something. Did I say watch something or just read something? Yes, I did. So just go to our website, buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff. I want to thank you so much for tuning into the Meteor this week with me, Brian West. Have a good week, everybody.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Meteor